Hi folks, how are you? My name is Abbassi. I'm the Senior Product Development Manager for Fender Electric Guitars and Basses, and I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about our new American Original series. We're standing in front of the new American Original basses that are right here in the center of this display. This is an evolution of our American Vintage series. So come January, our American Vintage series will go away and this new American Original series will be in its place. What we did with this series was we kind of switched our strategy from a specific year-based guitar to kind of decades or greatest hits packages of vintage year decades, right? So currently you can get very year-specific basses like a 58 bass or a 74 jazz bass. What we're doing now is a 50s P bass or a 60s jazz bass. So all these basses are lacquer. They have all the best vintage accurate hardware. All the pickups are Alnico magnets, just like a vintage pickup should be. They have all the great tone, feel, and look of a vintage guitar with a few little tweaks and combining greatest hits from each decade, okay? One of the things you'll notice right away is that we're not mounting the pickup and bridge chrome guards. Currently, we mount the guards on all the basses, and what that means is if you don't like to have that on while you play, you have to take them off, and your guitar is left with a bunch of holes and some marring on the finish. I said, you know what, nobody wants that. They always take the covers off anyway, so we include the covers in the case, but when you pick your guitar out of the case, it's perfect with no holes and no extra scratches and everything. I think people will appreciate that. So some of the small tweaks we did was flatten the radius on all the instruments. So all the basses that you're looking at here have a flatter 9.5-inch radius. That means you can get your action a little bit lower. 9.5-inch radius is a lot flatter than a vintage 7 1/4. A lot of people prefer that because they like low action. If you play guitar, it's easier to bend a note when it's 9.5-inch radius. So all the guitars and basses have 9.5-inch radius. We have new vintage style cases that we've redesigned that I think are a little bit better protection for your instrument. They're not quite as vintage accurate as the old cases, but they're vintage style, so you still have tweed and brown and black covering, and they're excellent cases. And again, these are kind of reissues of our vintage era guitars and basses. So the tone is there, the look is there, they're all lacquer, the vintage style cases. You can see that we're choosing an array of really cool vintage style colors. Fender is always known for its cool vintage colors that were borrowed from the auto industry of the 50s and 60s. So you've got an Aztec Gold 50 Strat, a Candy Apple Red 60s jazz bass, and a 60s Jazz Master in Ocean Turquoise. We're going to offer a lot of new vintage options that we haven't in the last couple years on this new series. So they're all lacquer, like I said, which is better for tone because the wood kind of breathes better through lacquer. But I wanted to point out that this really cool 70s jazz bass is actually polyurethane, not lacquer, which would be vintage accurate for the 70s. We switched to using polyurethane in the 70s. So the American Original series is really a reintroduction of all our vintage style 50s and 60s strats and basses. All new colors, new cases, new radii on the neck, so 9.5-inch radius, and you get all the cool vintage tone and vibe that you would want out of a Fender guitar. And if you want any more information, please visit our website at fender.com.